Awesome. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Pit Talk, the D3 Esports Cup post-race. We've had some exciting races wrap up, and we're excited to discuss the outcomes. I'm your host, Carlos Figueroa, and I'm joined by Simon and Ian from Dawson Racing. Simon, Ian, welcome to Pit Talk.
Good to see you, Carlos.
Hello there, Carlos. Hey, Ian.
Well, we just wrapped up 3 races, week 2 of the D3 Esports Cup Championship. Ian and I have had the pleasure of watching everything. Simon, you were in the background. What were some things that stood out to you that you were excited to see?
Well, first, it was great to see a few additions to the grid. I think the track was definitely a challenging one. I think, as you guys both made the point, that it's with 4th of July and then with everyone kind of working in the week, it's a little tricky to get probably as much practice time as you need for the virtual side of the racing. But it was great to see some additional brands out there. Great to see the guys back again. Always good to see. I know Nelson had a few technical things going on. I kind of made a joke with him earlier about it's a little tricky when you don't have your race team in the living room. So no, really good.
Yeah, and we've coordinated this with racers from all over. I know that you've mentioned a few key areas of the globe that people are racing from. Just give us a quick overview of that.
Yeah, no, obviously we had Alessio Regani from Italy who came in this weekend. I know he's generally been racing a lot of sim stuff, does a lot of real track stuff too. So I know he was new to the Xbox world, so is now all sort of set up with that, which was really good. Obviously we've got Scott, who's over there in Scotland, so representing north of England there, up there, and then obviously Nelson in Canada, and then we have all the American guys, all based here as well. So we'll see if we can add a little flavour of Norway next round. Working on that as well. But I think we've got a nice set group here. Definitely keen to try and look at how we can work with some of the drivers and teams to help better prepare them in the time spans that they have available to them during the week. So look forward to doing that next week.
Absolutely. And looking ahead, next week we'll be at Watkins Glen. Just for our audience out there, what can they expect at that track?
Yeah, I mean, Watkins is really exciting. I mean, we've been there and raced obviously quite a bit with our cars. I think it's really exciting. We featured a few lifestyle brands towards the end of the race 3. Proper cloth based up in New York too. So it's nice to be feeding into something that's in their neck of the woods. We took a good group of guests and sponsors to the last Watkins race, with quite a big Houston business and Insperity. So it's quite nice, I think, now to bring it back to America again. Like Ian was saying in the show, it's quite a good blend of the 2 tracks, but definitely keen to work with the drivers now and get them, up to speed as well as quick as possible with those tracks and learn a few things. I think they all did good just to sort of survive a little bit today.
Absolutely. And, you mentioned about some lifestyle brands and some different things. We're working with some amazing partners. We've shown some great commercials. One that stood out was that really cool commercial we saw in the break. Looks like a fantastic way for our fans to connect with the race team through merchandising and wearables. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, no, I mean, we're really excited about that. I mean, from an esports perspective, one of the things we're trying to do here with D3eSports is to try to connect with the fans as much as possible, both the fans of virtual racing and virtual sports, and also the fans of real sports and their families combined. Obviously, we've weaved in the corporate side of things as well into all of the production that we're putting together. So I think over the rounds, as we start to see that come together, it's exciting. The fact that Square One Flex, they've formed a strong partnership now with Visa. This is something that we were going to be looking to announce, 2 weeks time, towards the final race of the season after the qualifying's been done. But they have just motored along, and I think a perfect brand for us because they're fast. And I think moving into this time as well that we're in with the pandemic, you know, safety and cleanliness is something that's really key. So the wearable technology that we've been actually featuring this and working with them, with the Transformer team, to bring our real fans, to give them access to the tracks a lot easier, where they can just walk up to the gates with their wearable technology bands and boom. And I know Ben has one on at the moment, and we should see in another week or two about 10,000 of these things hit the US, and therefore a select few that jump on. We've actually got them online ready to purchase, and the app will be ready to go next week for Android, and I believe the week after for Apple. And then ultimately, when their app's done, you know, they'll get the band, and then ultimately they just kind of put that code into their app, and they'll be connected up with the team, all the tracks, some cool things there as well. And it's also another great way for us to sort of give another added value to some of the partners and sponsors, because it's another platform that they can kind of reach a different audience as well. But it's exciting to me that the safety side of things, because these bands can be used outside of racing. They can use them to go get their groceries, they can use them to get their fuel, and so some really exciting things will be coming out soon.
Love it. And so how do you see wearables linking education and the real and virtual racing?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great question, Carson. Thanks for asking it. I think the great thing with the education side of things, I think if we take the pandemic away at the moment, something we've been working heavily with Andrew on is to have these bands on all of the children, so that when they turn up to school, when they get on the bus, when they get off the bus, when they go into the canteen and they're buying food, you know, we see this as just a way that they can just put their wrist up against something, and then it's something that's storing, whether it's a linked account with their parents or linked with the school, but it takes them away from all this monetary side of things, and it enables them to just attack and go. I like the idea of some of the discussions we've been having, where if they're in our esports platform, if they're ordering healthy food at school, they maybe get triple points, and those points add to their e-wallet, as it were, and they're able to kind of be incentivized for eating healthy. You know, I love all of those things that are coming. I think right now, though, to have this e-wallet set up, which is connected to our professional team, and then we'll start to weave in the esports, I think it'll be really good. But I like, it's just another safety and secure place for those that have children that are in schools. And also this is something that can work in universities and something we can use in our daily lives as well. So that's kind of how I see it weaving with the education. Obviously there's platforms that we're working with STEM on, where some of that can be put into the app of the band, so that learning can be shared from the real cars and put on those bands, and people can tap into them as well. So all of this stuff will start to coming out, but it's just really exciting that, you know, starting now, people can go and buy these bands, get into the team, and it will be probably one of our initial gateways for drivers to first get registered, is to have the band, so we can store the points on there, and they can also start to get access to the real team and teams as well.
Absolutely. And we see that the Transformer Racing team has offered fan wear and uniforms. What does the virtual experience look like for other teams?
Yeah, no, again, great. I mean, it's awesome, because the vision here is, as much as we've created a virtual racing platform, right? But the idea is, yeah, some of the things we're doing with Dawson Racing and the D3 Transformers team is really showcasing the way every team that sort of pays to play or pays to put a brand in here or gets involved with this, you know, one of the 8 teams, they're able to also work with us to have a full uniform that they can open up to their fan base. Because we do see this in the future, that it's, as much as they have 2 drivers right now, a lot of the teams have a lot of people that are trying to compete to get into those 2 spots. So that is a fan base in itself. They'll have the opportunity to have branded gear like, you know, like the Transformer team does. And so we can, you know, introduce them to our partners and get all that going as well, and help them on that as well. It's just another reach for their brand to get spread out in this virtual world as well.
Awesome. And just a question really quick around, you know, how are drivers selected to feature in a game, and how do you bring a brand to these experiences?
Absolutely, yeah. So we're starting probably next week to engage a little bit more some of the other brands that have missed out this tournament series. This tournament series, as both of you see, you know, we've tried to really kind of select the right brands in the space, and it's not necessarily the right brands. We've tried to feature some of the brands that we've worked with a lot over the years and that kind of know and have been part of this journey with us. But obviously now we've got a couple of rounds under our belt. It's now looking at reaching out to other companies and other brands for them to also be able to participate into this competition as well. They might be brands similar to the ones we've featured. They might be completely different, which is probably more the case. And ultimately what will happen there is they have a team, which is with 2 drivers, and we open up a platform that enable them to have pre-qualifying for thousands of people that they can reach out to on their databases and say, hey, look, we got a team in the D3 Esports Cup, our brand's getting featured, here's the TV, here's the live broadcast, and actually go and reach out to them as well. Maybe offer some of their clients commercial spots, and we can talk to about different banner ads and position forms, linking into the wearable technology on the app. So there's multiple different platforms that they can get engaged in. But that's really what we're looking to do, is get new teams, different teams in, build up big followings behind them, and let them all sort of compete and pre-qualify to be those 2 featured drivers for each of the future tournament series.
Awesome. And last question I have for you is, we've seen a lot of different, different partners. We featured some of their commercials. How do they weave into the plans as we see lifestyle brands appearing this week and moving on?
Yeah. No, we were all really excited to kind of feature some lifestyle brands after the 3rd race there. It's great to feature the brands throughout the season that are very integrated, and we all know, as the PCs are powered by Zotac. We have Xbox that's there available as well for racing. We've got, now what we're trying to do is bring some of these other lifestyle brands in that maybe make the experience of sitting in a sim for 3 hours, more comfortable. I certainly know, sitting here in these shirts, we've enjoyed working with Proper Cloth with these, and that is really an IT company, really. Their technology enables you to have great fitted clothing. So I think that's really exciting to bring them in, because it's a lot more than the quality of the material. It's also exciting to see how they weave into virtual racing and the technology behind it. Really excited to work as well and start working more and more with Biodynamic. Very good friend of Ian of ours is Andreas there and in Germany. And Biodynamic is obviously really well known for their music industry. But, Pablo featured a set of headsets today, and every time he got off, he was kind of like, oh man, that's crazy, So really excited to see him experience that. Obviously, we're working with you guys with the broadcasting sets too, to sort of really, that's another way for these lifestyle brands, as much as we're all enjoying them and the drivers will be enjoying them, it's also a way for them to take them into the home and sit there and experience this, whether it's visual, sound, feel, be able to take these, these into the homes as well. And then of course, back into the wearables that just links up your daily lives.
Really exciting stuff. I love how, you guys have brought together these partners, and they're really all like family. Everyone that's involved is same values, same principles, same vision, and everything just clicks. So really good stuff, and thanks for all of that, Simon.
Absolutely.
Kind of jumping to Ian, I know that last week we brought some historical photos to really talk about some of your history in racing and really enlighten our audience around just the depth of knowledge that you have. I think over the years you've had some great teams that you've been a part of. As we see you comfortably sitting there, we can only but notice above you there's a great photo of a team that you probably helped to take to the next level. Shout out to our production team who has been able to bring in some great photos and help kind of relive those moments. But just as we kind of transition into the history bit, I'd like to just get your thoughts around, we just finished up a race at a place stat before. Walk us through your experience racing there and something that stands out every time that you hear, that track being mentioned.
Well, I think first of all the companies that we've got involved with here and that Simon's mentioned, our world is innovation technology. And if you go back, and we often go back when I started, which is in 1971, everything pretty well for me has been about innovation. And here we are today, really in that world. And so Brands Hatch, track I've run teams on a great deal. The car you're talking about, the Lola T600, we won Brands Hatch with it in 1981. An iconic car in many ways. It's the first what they call Group C car. So it was the first car that went from Group 5, which were open top cars, to a closed top car. It was innovative. The Lola was ahead of its time. This is a factory car. The driver in it's Guy Edwards. Guy Edwards at the time was probably for many years known as the guru of the marketing world. And as you see on that car, it's a commercial billboard. Ultramar Fuel Company, Papermate Pen Company, they're all in a way lifestyle companies. We even had support from a Texas oil company at the time, but of course we are saying in 81, when anybody watching this who's a similar age to me might remember that 81 was also one of those major global catastrophes. And, we went through the hard times, much like we're all facing today. But out of it, you must align yourself with products that are looking to the future. So the Lola T600, actually, if we're looking at our calendar, we were leading Watkins Glen a month and a half before that race, and we had a huge accident which destroyed the car. It actually was flown back from the US to the UK in 3 different parts. We rebuilt the car as a new car, qualified on the front row, and won the 6-hour race in 1981 with it. So way ahead of its time. I have a lot of thoughts about technology and companies that are involved in it. I think at the time we had Gillette, which had just announced the 3-blade razor, Papermate, which had one of the latest ballpoint pens, and here we are today, I think, with a wearables band, which, as Simon says, is unbelievable when you think this is going to remove cash. And I can still remember when I had a credit card for day one. Well, this removes all that. It removes the payment of cash. So everything we look at is innovation, and that's what this program is about. Doing something in a different way, bringing companies in with like-minded thinking who are prepared to showcase things that aren't perhaps in the day-to-day use today. And I think where we are as well with Mainline, who've actually, when we started working with them 2 years, have also had a vision to actually look at the world in a different way. So, yeah, the Lola was one of those classic cars that I have fond memories of at the time, and it was a winning combination. We
Awesome. And there's
also
there's one more photo.
there's always one. I mean, but again, here we have a Lola 675, the forefront of what became LMP2 at Le Mans. This is a Canadian team. I was pleased to have Simon involved in this. We had backing from Morgan Stanley Dean Witter with the launch of their MasterCard credit card. This is a car built in collaboration with Lola and Multimatic in Canada. And I was really pleased to see Multimatic, who now head up the Mazda program, finished 1-2 at Daytona yesterday. So 20 years on, here we are, 1990, this car was done. We won the class at Le Mans with 3 Canadian drivers, 2 of them who'd never been to Le Mans, never driven a car like that. And if I think of where we are today with young people entering, it can be done. And so again, I, with all of these things, have a vision about how you look at the future and not look at the past. And that's what we're doing today.
Absolutely. No, that's an epic photo, and the fact that both Ian and Simon are in it, I think it just speaks to the, how much wealth of knowledge you both have, how you guys have been in racing for, as tag team partners for so long. Just really quick, Simon, looking at that photo, what are some memories that initially come up when you see that photo?
I mean, God, dear. I mean, it's so many memories. I mean, probably one of the funniest. Like Ian shared last week about his first memories of racing. When you go to Le Mans and you're awake for 48 plus hours straight, working on this, the drivers kind of sleep, but the crew lights are on all the time. And I remember getting to Le Mans, and I remember waking up in the morning and Dad's like, "Hey, make sure you shave," And I think it's funny he's mentioned about shaving things. Because I remember when you wake up that early in the morning after only just going to bed a couple of hours beforehand, you might as well pluck the hairs out of your face because you're that tired, and then you're like, "Oh yeah, this is only day 2," and you haven't even got to the race yet. So I do remember that race really cool. I think it's greatly featured because of what's on the car. And 20 years on, we didn't know 20 years on we'd be walking around with a piece of rubber on our hand, and with all this technology in it. And we certainly didn't know that we can go and race this thing virtually. So I think super cool, the success that Multimatics has had now, the success that, and the enjoyment we've had together as a team. But boy, innovation is definitely the word that comes out of all this stuff. And to think that we won that race 20 years ago at Le Mans with that car, with that sort of message. I mean, every round that goes on, every week that goes on, we're talking, I'm just gets more and more pumped because I start to think, boy, this really is if we plan this out, but you don't, you just go with the punches, right? And you just get excited about stuff.
Absolutely. And I think, as we progress, I'm excited to see what more photos and history gets brought into Pit Talk, because these every week we've trumped the last week, right? We get better. So great photos.
Yeah, super stuff.
Yeah, appreciate it. But again, it's what we're trying to do here. It's what's we've got to get across to the world, and that's team building, it's respect for each other, and it's passion. And you need all of those things today, which often aren't really taught to anybody. And racing is a team of people. It's a team of people who deliver a result. Like many businesses, it's not down to one person. It's down to a lot of people doing a good job of what they're doing. And there's a lot of unsung heroes in all businesses, and particularly in motorsport. I mean, if I think of a lot of those projects, and you look at modern projects today, they still require the same amount of dedication and commitment. And it's great that we've got a number of things here that in our own small world we can bring that hopefully are at the right time in a difficult period for everybody.
Yeah. Well, Simon, thanks for tuning in to Pit Talk. It's been a pleasure having you back on. Excited to catch you next week, and definitely take care.
Absolutely, gentlemen. Thanks very much, and really appreciate the questions, and look forward to seeing the fans plug in, and we'll get it going. Have a good one. Thanks, gents.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Awesome. Well, Ian, it's been an exciting week. We've got Watkins Glen lined up for next week. Really excited for that one. As we've seen progression over the weeks, and really more exciting race to come next week. Any final thoughts on Watkins Glen and what to expect next week?
Yeah, I think, as I mentioned a couple of times, we're going to a classic US track in a great place. Watkins Glen has so much history, and we'll come up with a couple of more things for sure. But I think you're looking back on a lot of these things. I think for me, it's great. 20 years ago, Simon was involved in a winning project with me that was also a collaboration between Canada, the US, and the UK, and various other people. And I think that's what this is all about. It's bringing people, and as this grows, this in a way trial thing that we're doing here that just gives lots of people from all around the world the ability to actually get involved in something that they can make their own stories about, is really what this is about. So thanks very much, and we look forward to next week's installment.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you to our teams. Thank you to our audience. Make sure to follow us at D3eSports Cup. And a huge shout out to our partners, STEM.org, Hasbro Transformers, Audrain Auto Museum, Viva, Closers Coffee, Playseat, Zotac, MSR Houston, Elephant Tea, Bear Dynamics, Proper Cloth, and Square One Flex. Thank you to all of our partners, and we'll catch you next time. Stay tuned.